Jay here, Stretford, Paddock. This is the Paper Talk. You know the drill. We're in the studio, which means it's live. So get involved in the comments and the chat and let us know what you think about all the latest Manchester United stories. And if you've got any Manchester United stories, if you're ITK, then give us a shout and let us know as well. We're going to be talking, obviously, about Frenkie de Jong. There's more developments there, and it looks like there could be a bit of a movement and even a bit of a sort of transfer merry-go-round involving the blue, I won't say half, the blue quarter of Manchester. There's also a story on Darwin Nunes. Maybe that's not as dead in the water with Manchester United and Darwin Nunes as it looked yesterday. It looked like Liverpool had stolen a march there, but that may not be the case. And there's a Marcus Rashford update. We had a Marcus Rashford story last night, and there's another little story about him as well. All positive vibes. So do get involved in the comments and the chat and let us know what you think. Moren says, morning, Jay. Danny Wharton says, here we go. Morend also says, blue fifth is a push. Yes. I agree. Right, we'll get into it then, because the Darwin Nunes one, let's start with that one, and then we'll get into Frenkie de Jong in a minute. This is from Mark Ogden, who writes for ESPN. He's been on the channel, knows his stuff. He said, I think United are leading the race for Darwin Nunes because their need is greater. Liverpool are interested, but I've been told that they haven't put a bid in yet. I think the sense is that Liverpool interest is being designed to smoke out United to put a little more in. Now, the story yesterday with the whole Darwin Nunes situation was that Liverpool wanted him. The reports were that they were sort of not willing to pay the 85 million quid, I think, that Benfica wanted, but were willing to sort of negotiate and maybe structure a deal that would point towards that sort of figure. That made everyone think that Manchester United, with a relatively limited budget, I think we've got around 120, 130 million. We know we're in for Frenkie de Jong as well. Can we afford to spend 85 million quid on Darwin Nunes? Probably not. Liverpool, Champions League football, we haven't got that. They've also been challenging for the title recently. We haven't done that. We certainly didn't do it last year anyway. So it was like, that might be enough to get that deal over the line for Liverpool. But now, according to Mark Ogden, that's not necessarily the case. It'll be interesting to see what happens with that. The problem here is the £85 million that Benfica want, because that's just too expensive for Manchester United with the current climate, with the other deals that we want to make, especially the De Jong deal. But you have to ask yourself, is that just Benfica saying, right, we're going to say 85 million, and then if we get an offer for, say, 65, 70, we're happy with that, because that's, a reasonable price for him. We'll have to wait and see what happens. We'll wait and see what happens with Liverpool. Another advantage as well is that they don't need 4 players like United do. United can't just buy Frenkie de Jong and Darwin Nunes. I think that would be a bit of a push. We need at least one more defender, I think, probably 2. Another, maybe you'd argue, even if we get de Jong, maybe another midfielder. Don't forget, we've lost Matic, we've lost Pogba, we've lost Lingard, Juan Mata, Edinson Cavani. Not to mention the fact that we finished so far behind the likes of Liverpool and City last season. Didn't win any trophies for the 5th season on a spin or whatever. So we need to sort of fix up and bring in some new faces. So 1 or 2 isn't going to be enough. We need more than that. And you have to wonder whether United can afford to spend so much money on one player. Get involved in the comment in the chat, because Darwin Nunes is obviously a phenomenal talent. Is it 34 goals this season so far? There's only 22, I think. So he is one of the brightest young strikers in Europe. City have got Haaland, so they're obviously out of it. And you look at City and what they're doing, and you think, do we just want to fall further behind them? We've got Cristiano Ronaldo, who's 37. Don't know what's happening with Mason Greenwood. There's a good chance he never plays for Manchester United again. Anthony Martial, it looks like he's heading out the door, and he's not had the best a couple of seasons, has he, if we're being brutally honest. So would it make sense for United to get Nunes? But it's just that price. That price seems like a bit of a sticking point. I'll get into some of the comments, and I think that Glenn F says he's going to be our new CDM de Jong. I mean, what do you think, Jay? Maybe, yeah. We'll get into de Jong in a minute there. Andrew A says, Nunes' price is far too much for us just now. There's plenty of other options that don't have a first touch like Lukaku. I saw this on the live last night. We did a live, me and Joe did the Paddock live. A lot of people were questioning Nunes' ability in terms of, not his goal-scoring ability, because I think his record speaks for itself, but his touch, apparently, well, I've seen it myself. There's a few people saying he isn't great to watch at times. His touch isn't great. But he scores a lot of goals, doesn't he? He scored a lot of goals in Europe as well. Didn't he get 3 goals against, I think he got 3 goals against Liverpool, didn't he, over the 2 legs in the quarterfinals, was it? So he can score, and he can score against decent opposition as well. It's just that price tag as well. Yam says, Richarlison, please. That was a rumour doing the rounds, wasn't it? Saying that Richarlison could be a Manchester United target. He seems to be better off the left. Now, there's an argument there, well, if Marcus Rashford, I'm going to get into in a minute, is staying, which, you know, it looks like he is. Also, you got Andy Elanga can play there. Jadon Sancho can play on the left as well. Do we need another player whose best position is cutting in from the left-hand side? We probably need somebody who can play down the middle on the right. I think Nunes can play on the left as well, but he can also play down the middle. We'll have to wait and see what happens with that one. It's just, you know, it's just, again, I can repeat myself. The price that Benfica are asking for seems a lot. Is there any sort of deal to be made? There was rumours, weren't there, a few weeks ago, or I think it was last week actually, that Manchester United could be offering Anthony Martial as a sort of make weight in that deal. That was sort of just blown out of the water straight away. Don't think that was going to happen. I don't think Martial was up for it. I don't think Benfica were up for it. And I don't know how solid that offer was. I don't know if that was maybe just literally paper talk. People going, well, actually, Martial's got a few years left on his contract. It looks like he isn't going to get much of a chance at Manchester United. If Benfica lose Nunes, would Martial go in there? Makes sense. I don't think, actually, that would be that bad a move for Anthony Martial. He went to Spain, it didn't work out. Maybe go to Portugal, somewhere like Benfica, where you are going to be challenging for the honours there. A little bit out of the limelight compared to La Liga or the Premier League. Maybe that suits him. But would Benfica go for it? Probably not. It's a bit of a hard sell with Anthony Martial at the minute, isn't it? Because he went to Sevilla, and it was just a bit of a disaster, that loan spell. I think he got 1 goal in the Europa League, and I don't think he got any in La Liga. It was meant to sort of rejuvenate his career, wasn't it? And it just had almost the opposite effect. I think it raised more questions than it gave answers. And now you're looking at Andy Martial and you're thinking, what's the next step for him? Staying at United, I don't see it happening. Moving on, who's in for him? You know, a year or so ago, we were saying, oh, maybe just like Newcastle will come in for him. I think a lot of clubs will be looking at Andy Martial and going, even though he's only 26, you know, has he still got it? I don't know. We'll have to wait and see what happens with that. Hit that like button. We've got almost 850 people watching. Let's get to 200 likes. If you're watching, hit the like button. Rebecca Jade O'Sullivan says, can we just cancel Martial's contract so that Martial FC can stop bringing their delusions to the club? I've seen a lot of people tweeting lately. I don't know if it's just a case of it's coming up on my timeline, if that's not the sort of popular opinion, but maybe that Martial could get another chance under Erik ten Hag. People saying, well, look, if we're talking about the likes of, you know, Donny van der Beek or Marcus Rashford getting another chance, is there a chance for Anthony Martial? I just feel like those 2 seasons he's had, especially last season, where that loan spell, I just don't know if it's going to happen for him. I don't know if he's going to get another chance. Santa Notch says, wonder if Martial is happy to take a huge pay cut, which is the most likely scenario. Maybe he will. I'm not so sure. Oliver Engelbrecht Hansen says, from Denmark here, what do you think about Christian Eriksen? Yeah, me and Scotty were chatting on the Round Our Way podcast yesterday about Christian Eriksen. Great player. I think he's 30. Is he 30 years old? So you've not got many years left in him, but on a free transfer, did very well at Brentford. I think they won 7 out of 11 games or something like that when he went there. Got quite a few assists. I think he got like 4 assists or something and got a goal as well. Did very well. Great on the set pieces. We saw what he can do. We saw what he can do at Spurs, saw what he can do at Ajax, saw what he can do at for Denmark, and we've seen what he can do for Brentford. You've seen what he can do against United as well. So he is a good player, and I think on a free transfer, that kind of makes a lot of sense, especially when, as I mentioned earlier, you look at the players we lost, look at the experience we've lost. You're getting a player in Christian Eriksen who's got that experience. He can fill a certain role that we do need reinforcements for, and it wouldn't be. I don't think he'd cost a lot in terms of wages. I think his wages would be relatively reasonable compared to what some of the wages that Manchester United pay players. So that makes a lot of sense. But there was talk of, I think, Spurs being back in for him as well. Obviously, he's got history with Spurs, so we'll have to wait and see what happens with that one. Fergal McClements in the Super Chat has been a member of the Academy for 7 months, says, why you think all the centre-back links have died down, and what do you think of the very few full-back links? Yeah, there was loads of talk not long ago about Jurrien Timber, Pau Torres. Gone a little bit quieter this week than last week on that front as well. Full-backs, again, I know Timber can play on the right side. There was a couple of players, weren't there, in Holland that were being linked with us. Everyone thought, well, you look at the problems we've had at fullback this season, where you had Aaron Wan-Bissaka, Diogo Dalot, Luke Shaw, and Alex Telles, just on some sort of merry-go-round at the fullback position. You know, one of them would play for a few games, then he'd get dropped or injured. Another one would come in, and towards the end of the season, I don't think any of our fullbacks can say they had a great season. I think some had better ones than others, but Telles at one point looked like he was going to make the left-back spot his own, had a decent run. Then his form fell off a cliff. Diogo Dalot was very up and down. Luke Shaw had his worst season probably in the Premier League since he's been a Premier League player. It just wasn't a great season for any of them. I think Aaron Wan-Bissaka as well was a player who we all had so much, well I did anyway, high hopes for when he arrived. It's just not happened for him. He seems to be going backwards. He seems to be getting worse and worse. So we'll have to wait and see what happens with the fullback situation. But there hasn't been many links, has there, in terms of Manchester United and fullbacks. We know we've still got, of course, Brandon Williams and Ethan Laird, youngsters there. Could they play a part? I'm not so sure. But fullback is such an important position. I know all positions are important, but fullbacks especially when you look at the way Erik ten Hag sets up his team and plays. If you're not sure on how that is, there's a great video with Stephen Howson and Joe Smith looking at Ajax under Erik ten Hag and their sort of tactics and what we can expect at Manchester United. So have a look at that. It's up on the channel. But wait, watch this video first before you're looking at anything else. Rue de Back says, what's the latest on Brandon Williams? As far as I know, Brandon Williams is back back with United. He had a spell at Norwich, didn't he? He came third in their Player of the Year award. So it's not like he had a terrible spell at Norwich. They had a bad season in terms of where they ended up. They got relegated, didn't they, relatively quickly. But he played quite well for them and was their third best player, according, I think the fans voted for that. So they're the people that are watching Norwich week in, week out. So you can't really knock him. Right, so we move on to Frenkie de Jong. That's the big story doing the rounds today. There's a couple of sort of updates here. Now, you might think, what is Bernardo Silva doing on that thumbnail? Well, according to Mundo Deportivo, Bernardo Silva is targeted by Xavi if he loses de Jong. Now, there was talk, wasn't there, about a year ago of Bernardo Silva leaving Manchester City. There wasn't a sort of he had a little slight dip. He'd been in and out of the team, and then there was like this sort of question mark about his future. He played a lot of football last season for Manchester City. The strange thing with City is they have a lot of players that play a lot of games. So they have like Gundogan, De Bruyne, Foden, Mahrez, Silva, Sterling, Jesus, because they have some of them are like midfielders, some are more attacking, but they have like 7 or 8 players who all seem to play in a similar position, who are Grealish, of course, who all play about 30 odd games a season. So you look at it and you go, okay, you can still play quite a few games at City and not necessarily start every one of them. Silva seems to be one of the more sort of regular players for them. Because there was a rumour that he might be leaving in the past, is he definitely going to stay at United, then at City? Could he end up at Barcelona? Who knows? It seems Xavi is a fan. There could be a deal there. There's also talk of them getting Lewandowski as well. That looks like it's going to be moving. The problem that Barcelona have got is they're not the Barcelona of old, where they've just got like an unlimited amount of funds where they can go out and just spend whatever they want and bring in whoever they want. They are having to sell to buy. Now, Frenkie de Jong, United put in a bid yesterday, according to reports, of 60 million euros, I think, with a 20 million euro add-on. That seemed like an opening bid. That doesn't seem like we put that bid in and they say yes. So I expect there's going to be another one, probably another sort of 65 with another 20 on or whatever. So they've got to sell him. It looks like they're open to selling him. We had Semra Hunter on from La Liga TV who said he's done okay, de Jong, at Barcelona. He's not really set the world alight. It looks like the noise now that sort of, he's saying he wants to stay. Xavi's saying I want to keep him, but he's open to the idea of moving him on. So I think this could happen. I'm not sure about the Bernardo Silva one. We'll have to wait and see on that front. But definitely de Jong. There's so many noises about him moving on now that I don't think he stays there. I think United will end up getting him. I'm not ITK by any stretch of the imagination. I just feel like if this deal wasn't happening, if he wasn't going to leave Barcelona, if they were like, we're not selling him, then we wouldn't even be in this position now. It would have been done. It would have been like, not happening. This is not happening. We're not selling him, or he's definitely not leaving. He also made a little sort of hint, shall we say, when he, after I think it was the Holland game, when they beat Belgium 4-1, I think it was, can't remember the score, where he said, like, I'm better suited to this style with the Dutch team. Now, that some people took that as a little slight dig at Barcelona. Again, we might be reaching, might be overreaching, but that was how it was construed. We've also had Louis van Gaal come out recently and said he's worth 110 million quid or something. Louis van Gaal is just not very fond of Manchester United, is he? Couldn't some of the comments he makes. He made a few comments the other day as well about Ten Hag at United, and although he sort of kind of sits on the fence, he's kind of dropping those little nuggets where you think, yeah, he's not too keen on what went on at Manchester United. And listen, regardless of what you think of Van Gaal, the way he was treated when he left was just terrible. I think, to sack him just more or less in the dressing room after he won the FA Cup wasn't the a great way to do it. Anne Kate says Nunes is 40 million tops. Yeah, I mean, that I think we're gonna have to pay more for him just because of the amount of goals he gets. In terms of the De Jong at Barca as well, another sort of added caveat to this as well is that there's a story doing around again. It comes from Mundo Deportivo and a few other publications, and it's saying that just Frenkie de Jong is no longer a priority for Barcelona. And this is what pretty much everyone's been saying. It says it looks like he could be on his way out. So if he is, the obvious destination would be United, because I don't see anyone else going in for him. You know, with Nunes, you've had this situation where you've got Liverpool looking at him. Frenkie de Jong, it seems to be United or Barca, doesn't it? It seems to be staying at Barcelona or coming to Manchester United. There doesn't seem to be much movement anywhere else. So, as always, we'll keep you posted on that. Make sure you're hitting that like button. And if you're not done so already, subscribe to the channel as well. Right, should we talk about Marcus Rashford? Marcus Rashford, there was a story doing the rounds, I think, yesterday, that Marcus Rashford was wanted by Spurs. He'd said he didn't want to go. The update, I think this came from Simon Stone, is that Marcus Rashford just, he's not going anywhere. United don't want to sell him and he's going to stay. Now, Marcus Rashford had a bit of a torrid time of it last season, didn't he? I mean, it was his worst season in the United shirt, which is his worst season ever, because he's only ever played for Manchester United as a professional footballer. Didn't happen for him. When he came back from his operation, at first few games, he scored a few goals. You thought, okay, yeah, still a bit rusty, but he's getting there. And then his form just fell off a cliff massively. Him and Rangnick obviously didn't gel for whatever reason. We saw a situation where you had, I think there was one game, wasn't there, where Ronaldo, Cavani, and someone else, I think maybe even Sancho, were all out, and Rashford still didn't start. And you had a scenario at one point where Paul Pogba was leading the line and Marcus Rashford was sat on the bench. Anthony Elanga, a player who's come through the academy, who, like he's a good talent, but pretty unproven at this level, was getting in the team ahead of Marcus Rashford. And it just wasn't a happy camp from Rashford's point of view. There was talk of him maybe moving on. There was talk of him wanting assurances, whether he's had assurances, whether he's just was happy to see the back of Ralph Rangnick, whether he never wanted to leave, I'm not sure. But the two sides to this are Manchester United aren't going to sell him and he doesn't want to leave. So I don't think Marcus Rashford's going anywhere. The big hope with Marcus Rashford is that Erik ten Hag can get the best out of him. Marcus Rashford had 2 seasons where he got over 20 goals and he got a lot of assists as well. I think he was in the top 5 or 6 in Europe for his sort of goal contributions for quite a long time. Last season that didn't happen. I think he ended the season, was it 5 goals in all comps or something like that? I think not great at all. We know he's had injury issues in the past. We know he's been moved about a lot. We also know he had a bit of a torrid time of it, didn't he, with England after the Euros when he missed that penalty and was getting dogs abuse. But if Erik ten Hag can work with Marcus Rashford, get him playing well, get him getting amongst the goals, getting amongst the assists, then that is just what we need, because we'll want to see Manchester United players playing well. And I still think there's a player in Marcus Rashford, but he's got to perform pretty much straight away under Erik ten Hag. I don't think Marcus Rashford's got, another full season of not performing. I think if he's not done it by sort of January transfer window, then he might be in a little bit of trouble, and he's not going to want to sit on the bench as well, especially, going into the World Cup in November. So he needs to hit the ground running next season, and hopefully he can do. Glenn F., who's been a member of the Academy for 16 months, says, because of the money we have, I think we'll see a lot of youngsters coming through. Frenkie de Jong, CDM, no to Nunes, first season wonder, injury prone, Ethan Laird. Yeah, I think that says Ethan Laird. I think it's Ethan Laird, but I'll see what he's saying. Yeah, maybe there are some youngsters who are going to get a chance. We did a little video the other day about loanees that have gone out and some of those who can come back in, maybe the likes of James Garner. I mentioned Brandon Williams. Is he going to feature at all? We've also got another video coming up where me and Dave Pritt are going to look at the academy team, look at some of the youngsters who've obviously done well. You look at the likes of Garnacho, other young players as well who've been in and around the first team. Hannibal Medri's been in and around the first team, and Charlie Savage as well. Could they feature next season for Manchester United? Is Erik ten Hag going to utilise them, or is it a bit too soon, especially when you look at the issues United have had? Do we need players who are sort of ready to come straight into that team rather than players who might take a season or two to get going? We'll have a look at that anyway and make sure you guys get involved in the comments. I'll just read out a couple of comments. Knowing United will probably go for Richarlison last minute, says Ricky C. Dennis Ross says Rashford could be like a new signing if he steps up. Was gone last season. Yeah, he was. Ian says, yes, Dave Pritt back. Yep, we're good to see Dave. He can give us his take. He knows all about the academy. He knows his stuff there, and he can let us know. Me and him will have a little bit of a chat. James O'Brien says Marcus deserves another season. Played with a broken back for this club, and he deserves our support with a full pre-season behind him. I agree completely with that. I think it wasn't a great season last season for Marcus Rashford. Let's not pretend it was, but he's put his body on the line in the past. I think, you know, at least one more season, or probably at least till sort of the January transfer window, to show Erik ten Hag what he's made of. I'm going to wrap it up there. Thanks to everyone who got involved in the comments in the chat. We're going to have more videos coming up, like I said, looking at the academy. We're going to have Joe Smith a video as well later on, so make sure you're checking all that out. If you're not doing already, subscribe to the channel. Hit that subscribe button. We want to get to 700,000 subscribers, and with your support, we can do it. I've been Jay. This has been The Paper Talk, live from the studio. Thanks for watching.